It's the start of the longest Formula One season ever. 23 races in 2023, and it all starts here at the Bahrain International Circuit. And here's how the calendar lines out. We start in Bahrain before moving over to Saudi Arabia and Australia, taking up into April. A month off before Azerbaijan back-to-back with Miami. Imola then follows Monaco with the remaining May dates. Spain moves to June, along with Canada and Austria leading into July. British Grand Prix on the 9th of July, then Hungary, and then Belgium rounds us out to the summer break. We come back at the Netherlands, then Italy, 2 weeks later Singapore, back-to-back with Japan. Qatar back on the calendar with a sprint race. United States, Mexico, Brazil, new addition to Las Vegas as well on the 18th of November. The season rounds out in Abu Dhabi on the 26th of November. 23 races, it's the longest F1 calendar in history. The daytime is still here in Bahrain, and it's time for the drivers to face the world's media. It's the Bahrain Grand Prix, and this is your weekend preview to round one in 2023. Let's take a look around the Bahrain International Circuit, a 3.362 mile circuit, 15 turns in total, 3 DRS zones as well. High elevation change up towards turn number 4. It's a fast, abrasive circuit. Get a good exit then out of the last corner and boot it hard towards turn number 1. Maximum usage as well of the DRS and ERS power. You're going 8th gear flat out, over 300 kilometers, lap on the brakes very late, turn in a very tight right-hander. Careful as you accelerate the power, flat out through the Kinkat 2 and then the rise uphill towards turn 3 with the second DRS detection zone. Turn 4 flat out, braking around about 80 meters to go, flick the car in once again to the right, let it drift out wide, pick up the accelerator, don't go all 4 wheels off the white line as well, but try and use it as much as possible. Down to the sand dune section now, 5th gear, right through the curves as well, get back on the power, heavy braking stop once again, down all the way, 2nd gear corner, back to the right, power mid-on at the exit, rise up. Turn 9 and 10, double sweeping left-hander. Take the first one tight, brake hard and turn. A lot of lockers on the inside front left here as well. Into the tight turn 10. DRS opens once again for the 3rd time. Down you go towards turn 11. Important to keep the car moving, important to keep the brakes on, light tap of the brakes down to 4th gear, power through mid-exit as well, right up the curbs. Now, turn 12 and 13, very important, don't touch the curb at all, otherwise I'll spin you towards the wall. It's one of those type of circuits. Flick now, down, mid through, the last turn 13, down, once again, the long back straight, no DRS, you're going to have to pass here with ERS management as well, into turn 14 as well, another heavy braking zone, down 3rd gear, back again to the right, turn 15's practically invisible as you hurtle down with the DRS open through the first activation zone across the line. That is a lap of the Bahrain International Circuit here in Shakir. Hello everybody and welcome. It gives me so much joy to say that. Formula One 2023. The testing talk can't stop. Action begins right here, right now. It is time to face the world's media. And we've got a lot of good questions coming up as well. Today, Media Day means we get an idea of what the drivers are thinking after testing. It's their first chance as well to face the world's media, get questions in and see exactly who's hot and who's not. Literally, the anticipation through the roof. It's evolution compared to last year's revolution. Who has got the fastest car? It looks to be Red Bull as well, so we've got a whole plethora of action to look forward to. Breaking news coming into this morning, though, as I was on the train down here back to the commentary box this morning, I got the text, Lance Stroll will be driving this weekend after having surgery on his wrist as well. It's his right wrist that has been damaged as well. The MotoGP surgeons that worked on Marc Marquez and all the other riders as well in the series worked with Lance. He is fit. He's been declared fit, but just in case, we have on standby as well Felipe Drugovich and Stoffel van Dorn. So fingers crossed all is going to be okay, and we will see Lance, but have a big climb up as well because he missed pre-season testing. So is he going to even get out of Q1? That's a question we've got to start thinking about. I'm just seeing Checo Perez on my screen at the moment. Now, press conferences, we'll go through that running order, but in between, from the TV pen, first up, it's Valtteri Bottas, Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris and Alexander Albon. They're the first in the TV interview pen with Ted Kravitz and Craig Slater. And then the second lot in the pen, Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen, Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez. That was at 5 past the hour. And then in the press conference itself, facing the world's media and the written media, it's Nick de Vries, Fernando Alonso, Nico Hülkenberg, Oscar Piastri and Logan Sargent in the first batch. The second batch of drivers will see Zhou Guanyu, Pierre Gasly, and then the three big guns really coming this year, Charles Leclerc, George Russell and Max Verstappen, the world champion. So that's how it's all going to work in terms of the media. Just say good morning as well to Dimas, who says hello and asks when the Grid Network preview is. That will be on Saturday on the Grid Network show. And also, Dino Lance Stroll is back to race Bahrain. Yep. Know that. Got the text on the train. Good morning to Cameron's dad, which I must say congratulations to Cameron as well for his third place podium last time out as well. But it's time then to cross over for the press conference here in Bahrain. And we will see Nick de Vries, Fernando Alonso, Nico Hülkenberg, Oscar Piastri and Logan Sargent with Tom Clarkson.
A very warm welcome to the drivers' press conference ahead of the season opening FIA Formula One Bahrain Grand Prix. Now, as you can see, there's a slightly different look and feel to the press conferences this year, but we still have the two groups as ever. Group number one with us now. We have a mix of youth and experience. Two very familiar names, Fernando Alonso, Nico Hülkenberg, and our three rookies this year, Nick de Vries, Oscar Piastri and Logan Sargent. Very warm welcome to you all. Fernando, let's start with you. Time flies, your 20th season in Formula One. How are you feeling? Fresh, ready to go?
Yeah, feels good. I think it's always the same feeling before race one, where you obviously prepare over winter, and we have less and less tests these days, and yeah, you feel maybe not 100% ready with the car, especially if you change team. You need a little bit more time to adapt to many new things, but yeah, it's the same for everybody, so let's go.
Let's start by talking about the car. A lot of laps last week for you. What sort of condition do you feel you're in? There was some good long run pace, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what the others are doing, so basically you concentrate on your program, and let's see after this race, or basically after Jeddah or Australia, I think very different circuits where I think you will see more where everybody is, but yeah, I think we aim to make a step forward compared last year. Obviously, Aston Martin went through some difficulties with the car and some things that they discovered throughout the 2022. So I think this year we have a better baseline and we are happy so far.
Fernando, what have you found at Aston Martin? Just tell us a little bit about the team and how you perceive your role inside the team.
I think there is a very ambitious project, what I found. Very talented people. People want to succeed, want to win in the near future. So that was a very nice surprise, and everyone is pushing in the same direction, knowing how difficult it's going to be the task. But as I said, I think ambition will be the word.
Now, Fernando, you say it's going to be a difficult task, but can you win a race this year? Mission 33.
I don't know. Difficult to say right now.
Okay. Hey, look, final one from me, actually. Can we get a word on the changes to the end of the Barcelona lap? You raced those two quick corners back in 2006. Do you welcome that change?
Yes, that's a good thing about the experience. I will be the only one. I think I raced in that layout for a few years, but I don't know with these cars how it's going to feel. Some of these guys probably they've been testing in winter with the old cars there, so maybe they can give you an update on this.
Well, we'll find out in a minute. Look, Fernando, thank you very much. Nico, coming to you now. Great to see you back in Formula One on a full-time basis. After 3 years away, is your approach any different this time around?
Not really. I think the approach is similar, but I just feel refreshed, reset, very positive, and in a good state of mind. Ready to go again. Obviously, I've done a couple of seasons, so I know what's coming. I know what to expect, and just really, ready and keen to start the thing.
Now, last time we saw you in Formula One on a full-time basis, you weren't a dad, but you are now. How's that changed things for you?
I haven't noticed any change so far, to be honest, and I doubt that there will be a big difference in feeling. That's all I can say. Awareness now, it's very much the same. So let's see how it goes after a couple of races.
Well, look, talking of feeling, what kind of feeling are you getting from the new car?
Firstly, in testing, it's important for a driver to kind of, connect with the car, to have a good feeling with it, to build a good foundation and harmony. And I feel, that's what I've done and achieved in the limited time, like for us all. That feeling obviously is going to grow better and stronger race by race, because testing was not huge. I think the midfield is very, very competitive and tight. Once again, we say that every year, but it's actually always the case. And small things, I think, can have a big impact, can make a big difference. I believe we were somewhere in the midfield as well. It can be very track dependent if you're the upper end or the lower end, but it's our job obviously to maximize what we have and score results.
How is it going to feel on Sunday as the lights go out?
It's going to feel great.
And how are you and Kevin rubbing along together?
Oh, we're rubbing and tugging and hugging and everything. We actually, sort of broke the ice here 12 months ago when I stepped in for Seb. There's this driver picture on Sunday morning, and we happened to be standing behind each other, and I thought of, it's time to break the ice, and reached out with a hand and with a smile and put his words into his face. And that's where our relationship actually started 12 months ago, and ever since, it's actually been pretty good. We've been hanging out a bit over the winter, in UK, doing some marketing and media stuff, and so far so good. I feel no tension or friction between us. He's a dad too, so we're both in similar positions in our life, and looking forward to work alongside him.
Look, fantastic. Now, Nico, can you remember how you felt at this race back in 2010, ahead of your debut? What advice have you got to the guys on your right?
I think they don't need advice. I think they all know what they're doing. Obviously, they've all done the junior stuff. And this is just the biggest stage, but they've been, educated to come to this point. But of course, you're going to be probably a bit more nervous than on your usual day. But it's the start of a long journey for most of them. It's a long road. It's a big learning curve, a big process. So all the best and enjoy.
Well, look, Nick, tell us, how are you feeling? How emotional a moment is this for you?
Well, I think it's very obvious that this is a very special moment. I obviously had the opportunity to already kind of experience it and to get a first taste in Monza last year. But now I'm ahead of my first official season in Formula One, and I'm very much looking forward to it. We had a very long lead-up time, and I've been, preparing since a long time. So it's time to get started, and it feels good to be here.
Now, you've raced in Formula One once before, at Monza last year. How does that experience help you now?
I think all my experience in previous racing I've done helped me to become who I am today. And certainly Monza break the ice a little bit, but equally this is a kind of new experience because this is my first expected Grand Prix, whereas Monza, it was certainly not. So it's just a bit different, but all very exciting. I've been around here for a couple of years, so it feels home, and know everyone pretty well. So yeah, time to go racing.
It was difficult to get a read on AlphaTauri's pace last week in testing. What can you tell us?
I think it's difficult to get a clear read on everyone. I mean, the top group is pretty clearly defined, but everything in the midfield is so close that it's difficult to know where you are in that group. And as Nico already touched on, I think it will shuffle around a little bit from weekend to weekend depending on the track characteristics. So I guess Saturday night we'll know where we are here in Bahrain, and perhaps in Saudi we might be in a slightly different place within that group. But I'm hopeful that we're competitive, but equally time will tell where we are.
All right, thank you, Nick. Enjoy it. Oscar, coming to you now. Race 1 just around the corner. I guess this is a moment you've dreamt of for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. It's been about, I think, 12 years since I started racing, so everything up until that point has led to now. So yeah, to be calling myself a Formula 1 driver and preparing for my first race is a special feeling, definitely.
And how eager are you to get back racing after sitting out last year?
Yeah, I think, having that year out, I definitely gained a newfound appreciation for how much I enjoy going racing. Even in the bad times, it's still better to have those bad times than to have no times at all, I learned. So yeah, I think I've come back with probably more hunger, I would say, than previously, and now that we're here on the grid, it's just a great feeling, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck in.
You say no time racing last year, but did you do any karting to keep you sharp, or any, I don't know, long distance racing?
Long distance racing, I don't know how you do that. Do you mean like sim racing?
I don't know. What did you do to keep yourself sharp?
Endurance racing, sorry. I thought you meant like a long distance relationship racing. I was really confused, but anyway.
Where are you from?
Don't worry. Yeah, I think, I did some testing last year, quite a lot of testing by myself on track, but it's obviously not the same as having other people around you. It's hard to be in that competitive environment. I did a bit of sim racing here and there, on my sim at home, but yeah, I mean, it's very hard to replicate the real thing without properly going racing. So yeah, tried what I could, but yeah, I'm looking forward to going back this weekend.
All right, and where are McLaren, do you think? Talk us through the last 3 days of testing.
I think we're, like Nick and Nico said, probably somewhere amongst them. Obviously the test wasn't the smoothest, but I think we'll get a better understanding of where we're at come tomorrow, and yeah, I think we're somewhere in the midfield, and we'll see exactly where we are on Saturday night.
Just to answer Fernando's question from earlier, when you were driving the old car at Barcelona, did you do the last 2 corners flat out?
No, I didn't. I think it will be close. It's a fast couple of corners. But yeah, I think.
Did you try that layout though?
I did try that layout a little bit, yeah.
Enjoy
it? For me, it's much better than the last chicane. It's it was quite a slow, clunky sector. So I think going back to those last 2 corners, it's definitely going to add some excitement. And for me, it's a much better layout.
All right, Oscar, many thanks. Good luck to you. Logan, thank you for waiting. So race 1 for you as well. How different is your first Grand Prix to all of the other races you've done in your career so far?
Well, obviously, as Nico said, it's on a much bigger stage. But other than that, I feel like it's really just business as usual. Now it's a bit more juggling preparation and media. But to be honest, I feel like very happy with where I was in the test, and I feel comfortable in the car. I feel like I've, laid a good foundation and a base to work from. So, yeah, I'm relatively relaxed heading into tomorrow.
You completed 3 race distances on one day last week. How much of a step up was that for you?
It was a lot of laps, but to be honest, I feel like that just gave me more confidence of the work that I put in over the off season to physically be ready for this moment, and to get through a day and a half, 260 something laps completely unfazed was a good feeling, and yeah, leaves me in a good headspace going into the season.
Tell us a little bit how you're working with Alex Albon. Is that going well? Is he giving you any advice?
Yeah, you know how drivers are. They keep a little bit to themselves. But no, I think he's probably the most open and honest teammate I've ever had. You know, super nice to work with. Obviously a lot of experience and super quick, so it's also a really good reference for me. But yeah, I mean, within the team, I feel like, you know, it's such a healthy environment. Everyone's, you know, working towards the same goal. And yeah, I feel like I'm part of the family after the past year and a half.
Okay, Logan, good luck to you as well. Let's open this to the floor. Who's got our first question, please?
Thank you very much. David Croft, Sky Sports F1. Welcome, everybody. Hope you all had a great winter. Fernando, another winter where you were preparing to be a Formula One racing driver. This time, though, you're going to be racing on the same grid as someone that wasn't even born when you made your debut, in Oscar Piastri. So how does that make you feel? Old or privileged to still be going?
No, privilege to still driving here, and yeah, better than ever. So, you know, I have no concerns on age yet. You know, I will be the first one to feel it when I lose something, when I miss something while driving, or not being motivated to travel or to wake up in the morning and train, or just yeah, come here for testing like last weekend. So yeah, so far I only see advantages because I know this track in many different conditions. I know the car, I know the tires, I know, yeah, as I said before, some of the circuits that we will drive this year I've been driving already in the past. So yeah, I don't see a disadvantage.
Does changing teams give you fresh motivation?
It gives always, because you meet new people, new philosophy of racing, you know, how they approach the weekends and the car design and so on. But at the same time, it gives you an extra challenge for sure when you have to yeah, learn everything from zero and make the new seat, all these things that normally, if you stay with the same team in winters, are a little bit more relaxed.
Well, I don't know if it's a new format.
Well, very interesting what's going on there as well. As Natalie just said, there is a new format, and it's sort of like an old format as well, because back in Australia in 2020, the drivers did do the press conference, and the press conference was held with Tom Clarkson sort of sat along here, and then all the teams, all the drivers sort of sat along there as well. And that's sort of the similar situation we've got today. It's sort of the couch setup, like on the Graham Norton show or a normal talk show in America. So it is nice to see it back. It's been missing, obviously, in 21, 22 with COVID as well. 2020 and 21, COVID, 2022 sort of slowly reintroduced the drivers coming back in together. Now it's back to the format they wanted to go to back in 2020. Fernando Alonso, that's an interesting call, isn't it, about Alonso? Good question, I think, from Crofty as well. Do you feel privileged to keep going, or are you surprised? I quite like that question, especially because it shows us as well that Alonso has still got the mentality of a racer. And you know, when he came back, everyone was saying, "Oh, does he really need to come back? He's taking some seats away from youngsters." Then we said Alonso moving on to Aston Martin, away from Alpine. Again, he stopped Dragovic getting in the car. Is that the right thing to do? Is it not the right thing to do? He looks refreshed, and certainly I think Alonso for once has made a great run in as well with changing teams at the right time, because Aston had a down year last year, but we knew that the new technical director was coming in. We knew it was going to be a better performing car in 23, and it is a better performing car in 23. They're happy with it. We're happy with it. Looks great. Right, Lando Norris down with Tech Rabbits.
About the weekend to come and your prospects?
I guess, yeah, just excited to get back racing again. I think that's the main thing. Always good to get back in the car for testing, but the enjoyment and the fun comes this weekend when it's qualifying and it's racing. So apart from that, I've got no idea how we're going to do. I guess we're not up there with the top teams, but I think we're up there fighting for some points, hopefully. So that's our goal this weekend.
Just recap, if people don't know, over the winter, the team, what happened? The team went a different sort of development path, and you're sort of starting
I guess
again.
You always just go in a direction, you know. Once you kind of find something, you kind of head in that direction and so on. And we just found something, or we maybe didn't explore as many paths as we should have done, and then once we did get onto the right path, it's just been a little bit too late. Simple as that. So I guess when we're in a race against other teams and we're optimistic and we want to, fight back to being a top team, it's just frustrating that we found it just a little bit too late. But that's all it is. It happens. Every team does it at times. But it's something to look forward to in the future.
I suppose it's good that we got many more races at the end of the season than we have. We've got this sort of April of nothing, haven't we?
Yeah,
coming up.
Yeah, it's true.
We don't have to live through so many races before your upgrades come.
No, it's true. It's true. Actually, I don't think we're in a terrible place as it is. We're maybe not as strong as we want to be, but we're not also as bad as maybe what some people are expecting. So I don't want to speak too early, because at the same time we're just waiting to see how we're going to do. But we have some good things in the pipeline, so I look forward to all of that. But it's a plan. We also have to execute them and make sure they work properly and so on. But yeah, like you said, it's a long season, so I look forward to the latter part at the same time.
Cool. Thanks, Lando.
Lando Norris there, and I just want to bring your attention to this as well that we saw after testing in terms of total laps completed. AlphaTauri with the most, they did 456 laps as well. But then look at McLaren, 311. Only 311 laps completed for McLaren. But in terms of total time gained, according to the version from 2022-23, McLaren actually gained over a second. So it's quite hard to tell who's actually where, because in terms of overall lap times on this year's car, McLaren are behind. But that's development on the dyno, of the engine, of the gearbox as well. Systems that have already run 5,000 kilometers on dynos back in the factories. Mercedes reliability is strong. That looks fine as well. But for Carlos Sainz now, down at Ferrari.
Hola. Just a quick one. Even though we've only had about half as much testing as we normally have ahead of any normal season, is this the best prepared you feel for a season for a long time?
In a way, yes, because I've given it so much importance to these 3 days of testing, both from a physical and mental point of view, but also with the approach with the team, with my team in the test that we wanted to do, that I do feel prepared. I felt ready, and definitely more prepared than last year, and with a good overall feeling. Then when we put the car on the limit, if it will give me that last edge or the last feeling that I need from it, we will only know on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, so you haven't put the car on the limit yet?
No.
Okay, exciting.
And I haven't gone for it like crazy, like I do in a quali lap.
Controlled crazy.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
And what about, there was a thought that the change to the new front tyres might be to your liking. How do they feel to you?
Why?
It's just an idea that some of our ex-drivers had around the place, that the new front tyres might suit your style?
No, because in the end it's more front end, and if anything I prefer. I rotate the car so much with my driving style that I need a bit more maybe understeer, but I will adapt to whatever comes. This is a lesson learned from last year. There will be cars in your career that suit naturally, others that you need to adapt. The importance is to keep digging in yourself, keep amplifying your window as a racing driver, and this is something that I improved last year, and I look forward to doing it again this year if it's necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ferrari looking incredibly strong at the moment, which is good to see. They haven't pushed their car to the maximum. They are estimated second fastest in my predictions as well. In fact, I put Mercedes level with Ferrari as Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari I put after the test. But going back to Lando Norris, yeah, so the car should be pretty much stable with McLaren. I think they'll get out of Q1. I noticed in the press conference, actually, that Zach Brown said we didn't meet our targets. That was back in testing. Very clever, because now whatever happens this weekend, it's going to look like an improvement. If they get further up, they go, oh, well, the drivers have been fantastic. The car, the team really worked together. If they don't get out, well, they say, well, we warned you about it back in pre-season testing. So covering all grounds there as well. Carlos Sainz over at Ferrari. He's definitely going to be a title contender this year. Victory last at Silverstone as well. Really starting to push, really starting to punch up hard. Looks strong, looks fast. I think could be right up there with Charles Leclerc. We're going to see a very interesting run between the two Ferraris, of course, because Fred Vasseur said as well, there is no number one driver until I decide going in for the World Championship. So literally, whoever finishes out first up until the last second half of the season, maybe, you've got free reign. So that's still 13 races after the Belgium Grand Prix when we go into the summer break. And then going to Zandvoort after, that's when they'll start prioritising drivers, unless there's a runaway from one or the other as well. So, second press conference is coming up soon, and Charles Leclerc will be with that, if I just turn that down as well. Just going back to this testing graphic as well that I was mentioning, because it's really quite entertaining as well. In terms of number of total, we'll have this in practice one as well, so if you join us for the FP1 watch along, we'll have this graphic up on the screen as well during the show. AlphaTauri, 456 laps. Williams, 439. Ferrari, 416. Haas, 414. Red Bull, 413. AlphaTauri, 401. Mercedes, 398. Then we get Aston Martin, 387. Alpine 353, McLaren, as I said, at 311. But in terms of the times gained, and this is where I'm really entertaining, it's really great stuff here. Williams have gained the most. So much so that it now, on the projections, puts them in a midfield team. That's how much Williams have improved. 2.378 seconds faster compared to last year's car. Williams, with the new team principle, new strategy going forward as well, really are pushing the boat out. Aston Martin, this is another thing as well. They gained 2.371 seconds as well over their time as well. So roughly the same as what Williams gained. Now, Aston last year finished 7th in the Constructors' Championships. That is not good enough for a team that was winning races in 2020 as well. Whole 2021, whole 2022. Looks like they've finally turned it around for 2023. So fingers crossed, this could be something. And we've got Lance Stroll without any... We'll hear from him in a minute at the press conference, Lance Stroll, but he hasn't done any running in pre-season testing. Fernando has, and Fernando hit the ground running. He's definitely going to be a contender going forward, is Fernando Alonso. Many people are saying this could be at least a race victory for him as well. Maybe not a run at a championship like some people are predicting, but it could be a good performance. Alfa Romeo, 2.158 seconds they've improved as well. So Alfa Romeo looking good with Bottas and Zhou getting further up there, getting more experience under the belt. That looks strong. Mercedes, amazingly, gained 2.095 seconds, so over 2 seconds saved. And that's because they've understood the porpoising effect as well. And to demonstrate porpoising as well, I have this fidget spinner. Because if I set it going, hang on. There you go. So if I set it going, that's normal ground type. But then if I start moving my fingers around, you notice it comes to a stop as it's bouncing around. That's the effect of porpoising. So that the more it bounces up and down, the slower the overall car goes because it hasn't got the momentum to go forward. But it turns out if you just leave it alone with the normal ride height, then it continues spinning around. Bahrain's a natural bumpy track, so we were seeing bumps, but if you look at the longer section, only coming through turn 12, we saw cars struggling with porpoising, but it's not as bad as what it was last year. So it's a very good turnaround for Mercedes. Whether or not they're going to be race winners in the first couple of races, I don't know, because there is a update package coming for them in Imola, in Emilia-Romagna, and McLaren have an update package coming as well in Baku. So that's something to keep an eye out there. AlphaTauri gained 1.741 seconds as well. They needed it after last year, pretty much in the middle and nowhere. Red Bull, rather worryingly, gained 1.415 seconds, considering the fastest team last year. They've still gained time. Ferrari gained 1.381, but still behind Red Bull. So that's why Red Bull's sort of gone as to my number one prediction right at the top. I think everybody's gone the same. McLaren only gained 1.011 seconds, so a second, as we mentioned. Their update package for the aerodynamics of the car does come in Baku. Haas only gained 0.8, and rather worryingly, this is why I put Alpine dead last on my board here. Alpine had a horrible test. They lost 64 thousandths of a second compared to last year's testing. Don't know what's happened at Alpine. Really hoping we see something strong coming forward as well in the second half. But it should be fun, should be a lot more exciting. Right, let's have a word then with the Sky F1 team as well. Natalie Pinkham.
There is so much to look forward to. First up, let's hear from Valtteri Bottas. He rounded out the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship on 49 points. Can he do better this year round?
Okay, Valtteri's with 10.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There's nothing about you. My grandmother would look at you and say, Valtteri, you need feeding. You are the thinnest in best shape I've ever seen you of any
For real?
winter.
Okay. My weight hasn't changed much. Maybe a kilo or so, but
I promise you.
maybe it could be the shape.
It's true. No, it's true.
Unbelievable.
Could be the shape.
We spoke about
Or the
you in
hairstyle.
our meeting of this topic.
Okay, because,
Really?
Or maybe it's my hairstyle. It makes.
No, I don't know.
You need feeding. Look, there's nothing
Yeah.
of you.
We have the same feeling in Italy, in our group.
You're too thin. Come on, eat some more. Eat some more food.
Okay, I'll have
No.
I'll have a
kidding.
curry tonight.
I'm only kidding. You look in amazing shape. How do you
thank you.
feel going into the year?
I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel fit and ready to go.
Good. Where do you think the car is? We struggle to place it. On one day,
Me too.
You're kind of ahead of Haas and clearly ahead of McLaren, and then on another day, maybe sort of midfield as last year.
Exciting. That's the conclusion. So I'm not going to help you much here, but it is hard to predict because I think the midfield is so close. You know, if we're there in the mix, if we're above, which we obviously hope, I don't know. So and you never know if some teams have some further steps from testing to the race one with the aero package. So.
Okay.
Let's wait a couple of days.
Alfa Romeo was one of the teams that didn't change drivers going into the new season, but you did gain a CEO. So I know he's not directly involved with running the team, Andreas Seidel, but you have much contact? What's he like?
Yeah, obviously pretty quick change in team structure, and but what makes me happy, I really feel like and see that everything is in good order, everything is well organized. There's no concerns really from that side, and yeah, sometimes new news can be good. Obviously, it is sad to lose Fred, but like I said, everything is in good order, and he's a nice guy.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's get thought from the
I
sky,
personally
guys.
missed the mullet. I thought he looked wicked over the winter. So good.
Maybe that's what put the weight on him that Ted was talking about.
There you go. That's the issue. Okay, what do you make then of Alfa Romeo for this year? Can they spring a few surprises?
Well, I mean, they were up there at the end of the test, third fastest team. So yeah, I mean, but like I said, it's hard to read everything into testing, and their long run pace wasn't a match for Red Bull, Ferrari, or even Aston Martin. But yeah, they started last year with a short wheelbase car. That made it lighter. That made them more competitive from the start here, and they don't hold on to that advantage anymore. So I think they're going to be very much in that midfield battle, like we've heard from some of the drivers. Lando Norris was one of them, Nick de Vries as well. I think they're going to be in that mix. So yeah, Bottas is going to have to do some of his quali magic laps to break out of that and get further up the field.
And crucially, his teammate's going to have to keep up with him. And he's talked, Zhou Guanyu, about the importance of matching his teammate, being more consistent this year. It does feel like quite a good pairing, though, with those two, doesn't it?
I think it does. I mean, I think Joe actually was a driver last year that went very much under the radar. I think he was actually had one of the better rookie seasons that we've seen in Formula One in the last few years. So I think he's got a lot of potential, but you've got to remember that Valtteri's been in the sport a lot longer than he has. So it's just about time in the car, time with the team. There's a lot for him to learn, but I think there's nobody better to learn from than Valtteri Bottas in that case. I think he's a very good team player, and I think they make a good pair, as you said.
Thank you very much from the Sky F1, guys. Now we're getting ready for our second segment of the press conference. Now in the TV pen, interviews I think we'll either be hearing tomorrow in practice one or after this press conference. We will have Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen, Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez. I think we're going to hear from Hamilton and Stroll after the press conference, because you've got to hear from them, because Hamilton, British driver on Sky Sports F1, going to happen, and Lance Stroll's got the biggest deal. So I think that's who we're going to hear from after. Anybody we miss, like we haven't heard from Zhou Guanyu, haven't heard from Pierre Gasly, or George Russell. Oh, hang on a minute, that's the second thing. We haven't heard. We heard from Bottas, haven't heard from Tsunoda, and haven't heard from Albon as well. So I think those two we'll hear from in the FP1 show, unless they're on YouTube during the break. You do my best, because we want to hear from as many drivers as possible coming into the new F1 season. On that note, let's get ready. Second half of the press conference. Zhou Guanyu, Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc, George Russell and Max Verstappen are with Tom Clarkson now.
Welcome back, everybody, to part two of our drivers' press conference here in Bahrain. Now, one of the advantages of everyone being on the sofa is that we can't stop you talking, but gentlemen, it's great to have you with us ahead of the first race. I don't think they need any introduction from me, so I'm going to start with George Russell. George, how are you? What's the mood in the camp?
Yeah, I guess the mood in the camp is good. It was a good test. We learned a lot. I think we learned that obviously there's Red Bull are looking really, really strong, but equally we feel like we've got a lot of room that we can improve. Probably brought a little bit more pace this weekend after the learnings of testing, but it's going to be for sure a challenging weekend if we want to try and fight for that victory. But we probably knew that ahead of a season starting off where we did.
Now, you started last year slowly. You then ended it strongly. Have you been able to carry that momentum over the winter?
Yeah, I think the fact is we'll find out this weekend where we fall out. I think testing is obviously a good indication for all of us, but the fact is until we get to qualify and we get to the race, we'll have no idea. And I think some teams were surprising how their performance was. I think some teams look very fast in a single lap. Some teams look faster in the long run, but I think it's important to remember, we all try and design a car that's fastest across a 23 race season, and Bahrain is definitely a bit of an outlier. So I don't think the picture of this weekend will be the full picture for the whole season.
But for Mercedes, it was a test last week of fluctuating fortunes, wasn't it? Day 2 was problematic. What does that tell us about the car?
Yeah, I mean, it probably wasn't the smoothest 3 days we could have hoped for, but I think the lessons we learned from the test, I went back to the UK, I was on the simulator, the learnings, the findings we found, I think is going to put us in better stead for this weekend. But I think it's definitely fair to say Red Bull are in a bit of a league of their own this weekend here in Bahrain, but I think it would probably be a nice fight for second place, probably between Ferrari and Aston Martin.
Now, George, it's year 2 for you at Mercedes. How do you feel you've grown as a driver over the last 12 months?
Yeah, I think last year was a really good year for development and understanding how a team like Mercedes operates. They work on such a high level. The engineering talent they've got there is exceptional, and I feel fortunate being in a team such as this. So, it's a new year, new challenges, new opportunities, and looking forward to see what we can do this year.
Feet firmly under the table now.
Absolutely.
Okay, George, best of luck. Thank you. Joe, coming to you now. Year 2 for George at Mercedes. Year 2 for you in Formula 1. Just how different does the start of this year feel to last year?
I feel massively different. Obviously, compared to George, I think it's a completely different year too. But I really felt like getting to know the people at the team, also getting to know this car to push them. One lap pace, racecraft is being improved throughout the testing, comparing to 22. And yeah, overall, it's been quite a productive few days testing. And this time last year, I think I wasn't too sure about everything, but now I feel a bit more ready than ever. So hopefully it will be a good one.
You've had a winter to reflect on last year. What's the biggest thing you learnt in 2022?
It's more like how to be a complete F1 driver, because when you watch from the outside of the world, even in the other paddock in F2, you really don't feel the pressure that people or the drivers are feeling these days. So last year really is about the compromise of mental strength, how you face the outside world, how you face with your team. You have to obviously doing well on track, and also off track there's so many stuff you have to take care of. So yeah, overall it's been a massive curve of learning progress throughout the season, and it really felt like much stronger now. So hopefully continue to grow up and improving.
And in terms of race 1, what are your goals? Can you repeat that amazing points finish on your debut last year?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great memory this time, finishing first race in the points, and that's definitely the target. We felt like we have a package in the team that can be fighting again with the midfield guys, and everyone is very tight, like always, with this battle. But it seems to be like we was able to make a step considering the second half season last time. So yeah, hopefully that definitely the points I think is the minimum target we're aiming for this weekend, and it will be nice to be get to some top 8 finish. That'll be amazing.
All right, best of luck with that. Thank you, Charles. If I could come to you now. Yeah. How are you? You were Max's closest challenger last year, so a very simple question to you. Can Ferrari go one better this year?
Well, that's the goal, for sure. They've had a strong start. Red Bull and Max seems to be very, very strong. It's only testing, so it's difficult to quantify by how much, but it seems that they are a bit in front compared to us. So we've got some work to do, but it's only the beginning. So, but the goal is definitely to go one better.
Tell us a little bit more about testing last week. Did you keep your powder dry? Did you not reveal your hand? How much of Ferrari did we actually see?
I'm not going to say, but no, we didn't show everything, but Red Bull didn't show everything. Nobody showed everything. We were only seeing qualifying. So yeah, it's very difficult to know exactly how we are, but global picture just tells me we are maybe a bit behind.
A bit behind, but 12 months ago, you won this race from pole position. Just how much of a lift is that for a team? How important is it to start your season on the front foot like that?
It's important, but as we've seen last year, it's not everything, and the development throughout the season is as important, if not more. So yeah, I think we've had anyway very good testing in a way that we did a lot of laps. We didn't have much, we didn't have any reliability problems, and we did all the tests that we wanted to do in order to do all the scan that we wanted to do on the car, which is really, really important. So the tests were positive. Now to see exactly where we are compared to the others, we'll have to wait.
Not have to wait long. Charles, thank you very much. Best of luck to you. Max, coming to you. You're looking very relaxed. That to me is the sign of a good winter and a fast racing car.
Yeah, but it's not related to the car. I think it's important to always be relaxed.
Have you had a good winter? What did you get up to?
Yeah, it's good. Just spend a bit of time with family and friends, and yeah, enjoyed a bit. Try not to think about Formula One too much. Yeah, spend a bit of time at home at some point as well, and get ready for racing again.
Now, everyone on this sofa, well, we haven't spoken to Pierre yet, but I'm sure he'll agree, thinks you are the pre-season favourite. What do you make of it?
I mean, we had 3 really good days. I think also just in general, the progress we made over the winter was very good. But we have to, of course, show it this weekend, but not only this weekend, of course. From there onwards, you continue to develop. And every track is also a bit different in terms of behavior of the car. But yeah, the test days were good for us.
Where is this car better than last year's?
Everywhere. Right. That's the aim. I mean, you always try to improve it. It feels nice, well balanced, of course. Every team, of course, lost a bit of performance with the floor, but you always try to yeah, gain that back in a way. So you have to, of course, find a bit of a new balance with the car, but it's been good.
And where do you see the main threats coming from this season?
Of course, the teams close to us, but also I think at the end of the day from ourselves, because we have to stay on top of things and we cannot afford to make too many mistakes. I mean, we're not robots. Everyone makes mistakes, but you try to minimize it.
All right, well, best of luck to you. Thank you, Max. And Pierre, thank you for waiting. So, new colours for you this year. What does it mean for you to race for Les Bleus in Formula One?
Les Bleus. Well, I must say I'm very proud. You know, obviously it's a special feeling to race for a French team, and especially a French team which is based less than an hour away from my hometown. So, you know, I know Alpine since I'm a little kid, and they've been always particular links with Alpine and Renault, and now it's the proper start of our journey together.
How different is the ambience at the team compared to AlphaTauri, where you were last year?
Well, it's slightly different. AlphaTauri is, you know, full of Italian people, so you have a bit more of the Italian culture. I will say Alpine is a mix between French and English, and maybe slightly more international. But so far, I've been really happy how the team welcomed me and the way we've been working. So I'm feeling pretty much home already. Everybody's really focused on the season that is coming, and yeah, looking forward to see what we're going to be able to achieve. Yeah.
Well, what can you achieve? Because it was very difficult to get a read on Alpine during the test last week.
One thing I can say that we're going to be faster than during the test, but where exactly, I don't even know myself. So I think, yeah, we're pretty confident. There were definitely positive signs of performance during the test, and we haven't pushed with the softer compound, but we know the package is there, and it's, you know, the season hasn't started yet, so it was mainly about understanding which directions we want to take. But yeah, we'll be in the fight, but I expect more answers or clear answers about everyone's performance on Saturday.
And there are reports that you've got upgrades coming this weekend. Is that the case?
Yeah, minors, yeah.
Minor upgrades, okay. Well, let's hope that brings you some performance. Thank you very much, guys. Let's open this to the floor now. First question, please.
David Croft, Sky Sports F1. Good to see you all again for another season. Question for Charles. A new team principal, new boss for yourself. I don't know if you felt that there was a need for a new team principal at Ferrari or not, but what does Fred Vasseur bring to the team, and what impact has he made so far from your perspective?
Well, I mean, it's still very early days, but I think what Fred is really, really good at is to extract the best out of the people by putting them in the best conditions, and this we can already see some benefits, so that's great. Then again, it was his first 3 days on track last week, so it's still very early days, and we still need to see. I'm pretty sure he will discover much more things and see how the team works on a race weekend, starting from tomorrow. So still early days, but at least it feels good, and it was impressive to see how well he got at ease with such a big team straight away. So that was important too.
All right.
Well, and Naomi, the drivers were unanimous in their predictions about Red Bull being utterly dominant coming into this race weekend. And actually, rather ominously for all of them, Max has said the car is better everywhere than last year. And I mean, they finished last year so well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, really, in the comments of others and
Who's
himself.
worried?
It's what we saw. The evidence was there every day in testing, both Perez at the wheel and Max. So I'm not surprised to hear those comments. And it's a warning shot, isn't it, to the rest of the teams when Max says the car's better everywhere. That's straight line, that's braking, that's traction, it's high-speed corners.
Reliability?
Reliability. When he says everywhere...
They're trying to hang on to reliability as the possible...
And look, they've got the target on their back, and everybody knows the work they're going to have to do to try and close that gap. Let's see if they can.
Now, one of the sort of contrasting stories, if you like, from testing was Alpine. Difficult to get a read on them. They didn't look like they did particularly well. We heard from Gasly there, though, that he's settling in really well. He's got high expectations of this team. What do you think? Were they sandbagging?
Yeah, so I wasn't here last week. I obviously watched from a distance, but from everything I've seen and everything I've heard, you know, they were out when the conditions on track were not optimal. They were not on the most competitive tires. So all the results that we've seen from them were not in the best possible conditions that they could have had. So I think there is definitely some improvement to see from them this weekend. From what we heard, they also have a few upgrades coming this weekend. So I think, you know, he's made a good choice, I think, for himself to leave AlphaTauri and come into this team, although there might be some rivalry between him and Ocon that we're waiting to see unravel. But I think it'll be good for him. I think both of them are really excited to get this season going.
Indeed. Right, we've gone to hear from Esteban Ocon now with Ted in the media pen, the second Alpine driver.
Very good, and you? Good, not bad, not bad. Tell me, from the outside, it looked like a curious test for Alpine.
A curious
test.
I didn't hear that yet.
Sometimes the car was so low down in the timesheets, we thought that your new ambassador Zinedine Zidane was actually the one driving. What was going on? What were the team doing?
You don't know, he's maybe super fast.
Maybe he is.
Yeah.
He's quite a big guy, though.
Well, I'm quite tall either.
Yeah, but he's probably 100 kilos. I mean,
no, he's super fit. He's super fit. So.
Sure, but tell us, what were the team doing? Because it's clear you weren't chasing the top times.
No, and it's not the important, to be the star of testing. It doesn't make sense. What was important for us is to really understand, where we could run the car. So we tried some really aggressive setups, and on a big scale, from very aggressive to very comfortable to things that we are not going to do in the races itself, and things that required time, to change in the garage. So it was good to be able to do that and find out, what was possible to be running, and we've come, with some good, starting setups in the end for this weekend, and we are going more now to a race weekend work. Which is obviously going to be a bit more focused on qualifying by practice too, which is good. And yeah, we'll see where that brings us.
Okay, so you're comfortable with where you've ended up with in the setup?
Yeah, I mean, we will see by tomorrow, okay. Where we validate that. But yeah, clearly we've tested some solutions that were very, harsh, for the car and for us, and things that were not necessarily working, or things that, were not optimized the way it should. And it's normal, it's testing, and that's what it's here for. And in the end, yeah, as I said, it doesn't matter to be on top of the shit in testing, and we will see where we are soon enough by tomorrow.
Great, look forward to it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just like to clarify, he said sheet, as in timing sheet, not his accent making it sound like it was something else. Okay, well, we've got interesting things still coming up as well. I want to hear from Alexander Albon. He's published something as well that we've been hearing. But Alpine, okay, I'm a little bit more relaxed about Alpine now. I think that's the correct way to go about it. I like hearing the fact that it looks like they've actually got more performance than what we saw in testing. And Naomi was like what she said, they weren't at the ultimate times as well, and they kept running into problems, little gremlins that were in the car that they couldn't quite get right. So that's going to be fantastic to see. But I'm very much excited, and I hope we're going to hear from Lewis Hamilton before, because we've heard from Charles Leclerc, we've heard from Max Verstappen, and George Russell, but it is Lewis Hamilton. Got to improve. Talking a lot in preseason testing. Is this going to be an 8th world title? Is it too late for him to win it? What's happening? Who's going where? That's what we need to hear as well going in. So hopefully we'll hear from him shortly. And a few other of the drivers to come through. So, think we're going to hear now from... I'm just trying to have a look and see who's going through. We have yet to hear Kevin Magnussen, Sergio Perez as well, and Lance Stroll. I think Lance Stroll is coming up next as well. He's the most important one. Anything interesting from Twitter? Alpine will have minor upgrades, as confirmed by Pierre Gasly in the press conference. And that coloured Twitter girl says, very interesting name, am I the only Mercedes fan concerned about those long straights on the Bahrain track, considering our whack straight line speed as well? No, I think you're about right. About right in terms of what's going to be interesting to see. Oh, no, okay, we're not going to hear from anybody else. They've gone off air, Sky F1. Yeah, I would be very interested to see as well if we're going to have any problems coming from the Mercedes straight line speed, because they have actually put on a new rear wing. It's a very weird rear wing. It almost looks like it's got a bowl in the middle of it down in the thumb. Well, again, we'll show you in practice one. But it does look very fantastic. And also, by the way, if you want to see the new Formula One intro that is coming on as well, you can see it in half an hour. Everyone, I've literally just put a tweet out saying 30 minutes. The new ident cards for Formula One in 2023. Their intro will be open. We're not going anywhere though, because now we're going to hear from Alexander Albon as well. Yeah, we're going to hear from Alexander Albon, who spoke earlier with Sky Sports.
First races are always quite interesting because teams aren't always that reliable, and being the first race, there's a bit more opportunity out there. So, coming from where we were last year, it's true that, I think the car's general characteristics are are still there. We have to be realistic where we are. Points aren't going to be easy, but let's see.
Yeah. I mean, I was speaking to Nick De Vries at AlphaTauri. He reckons a 10th where he is can mean a number of places in qualifying. I guess you'd echo that.
I'd say that, but maybe we're a little bit further back on that, so it may be not a couple of tenths, but maybe a few more on top. Okay. So let's see. I don't want to sound too gloomy, but yeah, I think our race pace, our qualifying pace, it's going to be tricky. I think we just need to be opportunistic and a little bit creative in how we race, just to try and surprise a few people.
Well, I don't know what's happening with my mic. Oh, there we go. I just put some headphones on as well to listen to that interview because I haven't got any earplugs in. And I was thinking, what has happened to my microphone? Because I was talking through it, it sounded really, really loud. I was like, what has happened? Have I broken it? I'm going to have to swap to another one quickly. But no, the talk back was sent up sky high. So I was hearing myself echoing really, really loud. So apologies for that. But yeah, so good stuff there from Alexander Albon, looking strong again. Another year to perform. Certainly looks like he could do it. It looks like he's got it in the bag. Want to hear quickly, 2-minute interview, the F1 Drivers Academy as well, which is the new, effectively, W Series. It's been brought in as well as a change around for young, upcoming female F1 drivers as well to get into the sport, get into a program. The calendar was announced. It's at different events as well around motorsport, DTM, WEC, Formula One, and all sorts as well. But the one thing that I'm really interested about is that they've got the United States Grand Prix. That was interesting. But this is what its new managing director has to say about it. Susie Wolff.
Well, I think luckily for me with the F1 Academy, I can draw on my experience having been in the car, knowing what these young girls are going through. Obviously from the team principal role, understanding what's important for a team. And in the end, you want to put the most talented person in the car. You don't get extra points for putting a woman in the car. And it's up to us at the F1 Academy to increase the talent pool and make sure we're nurturing young talent to come through. And obviously with my background, it really feels like a fantastic opportunity, not just professionally but also personally, because it's something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, you got there. We've just been talking off camera. You were saying you almost got there, but you were in a practice session at a Grand Prix weekend, which no woman had done for more than 20 years before you managed it. Is there anything, looking back, if you'd had this kind of extra backing that the Academy hopefully provides, that would have given you that extra bit of capability which would have enabled you to take it 1 or 2 steps further?
100%, because in the end I think it's about the support network, and everyone tells me you were just a bit ahead of your time. But in the end, I'm so grateful for my experience in Formula One, because it made me realise it's possible. As a woman, there was a lot of question marks. Was I physically fit enough? Would it be possible? Well, I did a race distance at Barcelona, and I know that it's possible for a woman to race at this level. And from that perspective, that experience is so important, especially in this new role, and especially handing down that experience to the next generation. But also, I think, being in the paddock and with the full support of F1 behind the F1 Academy, it means we have all the right people and the decision makers looking and supporting us to make sure that when there is a talent coming through, she will have that opportunity to come into this paddock and hopefully be successful. But we need to manage expectations. It's going to take time. It's about increasing the talent pool, raising awareness and inspiring the next generation to come and to make this sport more accessible for those that want to enter.
Yeah.
I must admit, I'm really hopeful that F1 Driver Academy works, considering the fact that W Series didn't. I think W Series had a really strong start, a good first year with Formula One, and then they tried to go too big last season, had to cancel the rest of the season. Jamie Chadwick was champion, but W Series never sat right with me because I don't think it was done properly. The F1 Drivers Academy, however, does seem to be done properly. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to achieve as well. And fingers crossed that we get a very, very quick female F1 driver in the sport ASAP. That's there on talent and is there and can be a race winner and a world champion. Is exactly what this sport needs right now. Okay, give you the coverage details coming into this weekend. A reminder that we have practice and qualifying highlights for F2 and F3 this season as well. You can join for those on Friday evenings or Saturday mornings, depending on where we are in the world. Say we are racing in Saudi Arabia, they're not going to be ready in the evening, so they'll go out Saturday morning before the start of the next races. So just be on the lookout for those as well. Synthel says, hey, I can't wait for this weekend. That all-woman series doesn't work if it's best to go down the F3, F2 series. I think they're just trying to get them in. I think that's it. They're trying to get them from karting into a single-seater, then to Formula 3, Formula 2, which was kind of what W Series was supposed to be, but W Series has ended up being every female racing driver you could find being pushed into one series, and it just didn't work. But here's your timing details for this weekend. We're on air at 11:15 GMT tomorrow for the first practice session in the morning. Practice 2 is underway 2:45 GMT. Practice 3 same time 11:15 GMT. We're on air. Qualifying from 2:30 GMT, half hour build up, session starts at 3, race start, we're on air 2 p.m. GMT with an hour's build up on YouTube and on USRN. That gives us race start at 3. We also have the Formula 3 and Formula 2 races, and the IndyCar season starts this weekend at St. Petersburg. You can catch the race as well live at 5 p.m. with the green flag at 5:20 on Sunday, all GMT. Thanks for your company. We'll be back tomorrow for the first practice session of the season, and the day finally gets going. We've waited a long time, around 100 days. It's time to go green. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.